I don't know if that quote, leave the world a better place than you found it. And here at Unity, we work at doing that. Welcome to Unity of London. And welcome to those who've joined us online. Welcome to all of you here at 501 Nelson Street. I recently received something from our retired minister, Rev. Lori Hisson, and it was a message from the chairman at Unity Worldwide Ministry, just reminding us that although Unity is based in Christianity, our main focus is that we are a positive path of spiritual living. And because we're a positive path of spiritual living, we are open and welcome to everyone, all faiths, all religions, all followings. And I thought that was quite inspiring to receive that. We do have a vision, and it's a vision that is shared by unities all over the world. I invite you to join with us, a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And our mission, co-creating with Spirit to transform lives through shared spiritual awakening. And that's transforming our own lives and lives of everyone with whom we're in touch. By being a loving, inspiring community, we know that we learn how to release our egos, our beliefs, and our fears. Those are what separate us from each other. And in our act of releasing egos, fears, and beliefs that are different, that say, you're different from me, I don't agree, we let those go. We embrace each other in a spirit of love and acceptance. Learning how to express ourselves is an expression of self-love. As we love ourselves, that love can spread throughout our community, throughout our world. And is that not an exciting thought? We spread love through our self-expression. Our 5 principles are based on our knowledge that God is everywhere present, 24 hours a day, in us, day and night, wherever we are. That we are an expression of divine. We create the lives we want through the thoughts we create, the thoughts we give focus to, and our thoughts create our lives. We pray by affirming all that is good and wondrous, by releasing what does not work. And we live the message of love. We live unity. We live acceptance, respect, honoring those around us. Be the change. It's that simple. And that challenging at times. Be the change. Coexisting by providing fellowship and education for spiritual seekers of all walks of life. And you educate by how you act, how you speak, how you think, how you interact. We do have great announcements today. Thanks to Lorraine. Our town hall meeting will follow our service on November 26th. It will just be a brief update, not a long and involved update, and it will be followed by an open floor discussion of any areas that you wish to discuss. Please contact Lorraine if you want to add specific agenda items. Hopefully all of you are planning to attend Jim Chapman's Christmas celebration. That is happening on December 17th. 21st. Thank you. December 21st. And Jim shared with me the last time he was here that he will be doing 16 presentations in the month of December, with ours being the final one. Amazing. So he will be well versed in everything about Christmas. It should be a lot of fun. It's only $30 per person, and that all of those funds go to our Unity. So invite your friends and your family. It is getting cold outside. Thanks to Chris, it's not cold in here. You'll see our Christmas boxes up here. They are ready to receive your donations. We're blessed. We have a lot, and it's up to us to share what we have. Hats, gloves, scarves, mittens, warm socks, preferably white. And all of these will be going to the homeless. And it's our special Christmas project. Christmas food bank collection. And these are a list of some of the foods that you can donate. These are all foods that last. They have longevity, but they're also nutritious. And you can also include special diet foods, lactose-free, gluten-free. Our prayer chaplains today are Dawn, and she's in the second row, sitting beside Lindsay, and Wilda online. And Dawn will be in off our fellowship room in the little prayer room. All prayers that you share with Dawn are confidential. This is one of my favorite songs, so please join in.
Of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. A beautiful expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. Magnificent expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. A unique, unrepeatable expression of God. 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 I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. Right time, right place, an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit. I'm fabulous, I got it, an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit. A unique, unrepeatable expression of God. 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 I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit.
I could see Amber just bopping around in her chair. She was just dying to get up here. Amber, you're an expression of the Spirit, just like all of you are. We all have our different ways of sharing that. You see before you our prayer chest, and please feel free to write down the name of anyone you wish to hold in prayer. Put it into the chest. Dawn collects those at the end of every month, sends the list to all of us prayer chaplains. We pray over those names, and then they go on to Silent Unity in Kansas, where they are prayed over for a month. I invite you now to close your eyes if you feel comfortable, to breathe in the divine expression of the Spirit you are. You are a unique and unrepeatable expression of the divine. In our time of prayer now, we affirm with love, with compassion, all those in our world who may be suffering from violence, from war, from loneliness, from discontent, from starvation. We affirm the courage, the resilience, the faith of those who are suffering. We acknowledge and honor the efforts of all those who seek to help, those who give of their hearts, their time, their talent to help those in need. We hold in loving prayer today all of our members of Unity of London, those who are with us today, those who cannot be with us, those who may be traveling, those who are online. We hold in loving prayer those who have traveled to be with us today, including our awesome speaker, Kwesi. We hold in loving prayer your intentions, affirming that you are stronger than you believe, affirming your strength, your courage, your faith, and most of all, your loving awareness of divine presence. With these prayers, we say, Amen. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce one of our platform assistants, George Wilson. Come on up, George, who will share the daily word and introduce our speaker.
The word for today is guidance. Divine guidance clears and lights my way. I am divinely guided, moment by moment, breath by breath. With certainty and assurance, I go forth to do what is mine to do, trusting that all things are working for good. Even during the most trying times, through my faith, I am assured all is well, regardless of appearances, just as the sun shines after a storm. In times of uncertainty, I turn within, pray, and enter the silence where I can better discern the still small voice within me. Then I relax and pay attention to my intuition. I listen deeply to my soul's calling. I am open and receptive to the many ways my guidance manifests. Knowing and claiming my oneness with God, I dare to reach for my dreams. With unshakable faith, I go forth expecting to receive clear guidance and direction from the Christ within me. From Psalm 28, verse 8, I will instruct you and teach you the way you should go. Kwesi Millington is a former RCMP officer who has overcome struggles professionally as well as personally, dealing with PTSD and depression. He now teaches youth and high-stress organizations how to avoid burnout, build mental health, and cultivate resilience in their lives. With his message, Unbreakable Happiness, please join me in welcoming Kwesi Millington.
Thank you. I've been promised that if I move down, I will still be on camera. So I'm going to do it. Good morning. As mentioned, I'm a Toastmaster. I don't know if that was mentioned earlier, but I am a Toastmaster. However, my trade is I'm a professional speaker, and I travel all over North America speaking to young people, students, about mental health and resilience and self-worth, anti-bullying, inspiring them to be better versions of themselves. When I go into schools, I typically take a bracelet with me, and the bracelet says I am unbreakable, to remind them to believe in themselves. And if I'm inspired, I give it to a student. I might throw out a few of them during a talk. If it's okay, I was standing at the back just now, and during that song, I saw one person in particular who reminded me of the spirit of unbreakability. Everybody here reminds me of that. But I saw your head dancing about, and I thought, you are into this song. And what a peaceful, loving spirit. So if you don't mind, can I give you one of my bracelets? There you go, okay? Yeah, you're welcome. Your theme today is release. When I think of release, I'm reminded of a woman who lived in Montreal. She's a nurse, she's pregnant. She walks into her Montreal townhouse, walks into her kitchen, and then she sees something on her kitchen table that changes her life forever. She sees a receipt for a baby crib. Now you might be thinking, Kwesi, she's pregnant. A baby crib makes sense, right? But here's the thing. That receipt was for a second baby crib, not hers. And she wasn't having twins. Can you imagine the confusion she must have been going through? Can you imagine, ladies, what she must have said to her man when he walked in the door? And she shows him the receipt. And in that moment, he's forced to admit that not only was he having an affair, but he was about to have a child with another woman. Now, I don't know what was going through that woman's mind. I can't imagine. But I don't have to imagine because her name is Carolyn, and she's my mother. I was born in Montreal, and soon after, she confronted my father. They split up, obviously. She raised me on her own. And when I think of release, I'm always reminded of the fact that my mother never held on to bitterness towards my dad. She never put him down. She actually encouraged me to have a relationship with him. She raised me in Toronto on her own. And she used to drive me to school in this car called a Dodge Omni. Does anyone know? And anytime I felt down, she would always try to lift my spirits. She didn't unload any negativity on me. In fact, she used to sing me this song. And I know it's not a hymn. And I'm not the best singer. But she used to sing me this song. If it came on the radio, she'd sing it. If it wasn't on the radio and I felt down, she would sing it to me. And since we're family and friends here now, If you know the song, maybe you can help me. Anytime I was down, this is what my mother would sing. Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note, but don't worry. Oh, did you listen to the same radio station I did? In every life, you have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it trouble. Don't worry. Be happy. Thank you. So she's singing to me. And growing up, I always wanted my mom to be proud. And I got the chance May 16th, 2005. That's when I became a police officer with Canada's National Police Force, the RCMP. Now, the way it works, RCMP recruits go to Regina to train, paramilitary training, they call it. 6 grueling months. And listen, I'm from the Caribbean. That's my background, Trinidadian. Even though I was born in Canada, that's my background. So I hate the cold. But imagine this, standing outside in Regina, Saskatchewan, at attention in minus 55 degrees. Yeah. I thought out eventually and I graduated May 16, 2005. My mother flies in to see me graduate. I go to the airport. She knows I'm coming to pick her up. But what she doesn't know is that for the very first time, I was wearing the red serge. The wide brim Stetson hat, right? Tall boots. Shined up nicely. I walk into Regina Airport and do you have any parents in the audience? Yeah. Any parents? Any grandparents? You tell your kids you're proud of them sometimes, right? Yeah, yeah. They never get sick of it, even when they're my age. Because my mother, when she saw me in uniform, she got to the bottom of the escalator. She gives me a hug. And at 28 years old, she hugged me so tightly and said, "Son, I'm so proud of you." My allergies start acting up. I start crying. One of the proudest days of my life. But here's why I'm here today. Here's why I speak. See, I was a police officer, but 6 years into my career, and I write about it in my book. But 6 years into my career, I was involved in one of Canada's biggest police cases at the time. As part of being involved in that case, I had to testify in court. So I go to testify in court, Vancouver, British Columbia, fly back to Toronto, and there's a letter waiting for me when I get back. And that letter says, "Kwesi Millington, you've been charged with perjury." Does anyone know what perjury means? I was charged with lying in court, and I'm going to tell you, I've never lied a day in my career. But I was still charged. I was convicted, and I was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. And like that, it was gone. I lost my career. I lost my freedom. But you know what? The thing I remember the most is, honestly, I felt sometimes like I let my mom down. But if you fast forward to today and you ask me how I feel, grateful. Gratitude, one of your 12 powers, right? I feel grateful to be here with you today. I feel grateful to be able to do what I do. I'm a husband, I'm a father to a 4-year-old son who keeps me running around all the time. And people ask me, "Kwesi, how did you do it?" Not becoming a father, but how'd you go from losing everything and now you speak to people about mental health, about resilience, about happiness? And my mom is a Christian, and she always believed, you know what, some of our principles for living come from the Bible. She quoted me something that Paul said. Paul is the author of Philippians. And he said, forgetting our past and moving forward is what we have to do. And I really resonated with Paul's story because he was wrongfully imprisoned. And so today is about release. Today is about 3 things that I've learned to release that have allowed me to be here today and may help you in your life as well. When I think about releasing, 3 things that I just want you to hold on to today. The first thing I had to release came actually before I was a police officer. In fact, 3 years before I was a police officer, I used to work in a government office. Any government employees in here? All right. So I worked for, I think it was the Ministry of Child and Family Services. And I remember I was in a temporary position, and that temporary position became a full-time role. But you know how it works in the government, even though you're doing the role, you have to apply for the position to get it. So I figured, no problem. I'm doing the job already. My manager, Rob, he likes the work I'm doing. I'm a shoo-in, right? You know where this is going, don't you? But the only problem is Rob wasn't the one responsible for the hiring. Now I got a question for you. Have you ever met someone that you could just tell didn't like you? Did they even have to say anything? Sometimes it's just the way they look at you, or maybe they ignore you, whatever it is. For me, that was Barb. Now, I think when God created people, Barb was created without a funny bone. I honestly think that, because Barb would pass me by in the hallway, and I apologize. There's no Barbs in here, right? No? Okay. Not now. They changed their name. That's not her real name either. I'm protecting her identity. But she'd pass me in the hall, and she'd walk by people, and you'd tell a joke in a crowd of people, and everyone would be laughing, smile on their face like yours, and this is how Barb would laugh. And that, unfortunately, is the face that I found myself sitting across from. The day of the decision interview. I remember I walk in, and there's a big oak desk in between us. She's sitting across from me, and I can smell the coffee. I can smell the cigarettes. And I remember what she said to me. She got right to it. She said, "Kwesi, you didn't get the job, and we won't be keeping you here." Those are the exact words she said to me. She pointed to the door as if I didn't know where it was. Anyone here ever held a grudge against someone? I remember I walked out of that office that day, collected all my belongings, put them in the old box, started walking out of the building, and then a quote hit me. It's a quote that was said by the late, great Nelson Mandela. He once said that in your life, holding on to resentment is like drinking poison, hoping it will kill your enemies. And it was in my head, and so I knew I had to let that go, because 3 years later, guess what? Regina Airport, mom comes to see me wearing the red serge, wide brim Stetson hat. I was a police officer. And I'll never forget the day they gave me the badge. Oh, I loved it. Nice gold shiny badge, 52147. That was my regimental number. I showed my mom the badge. I'm like, "Look, Mom, I got it." I flew back to Toronto, and I showed everybody that would suffer me my badge. Listen, I was kind of immature when I was younger, so I would even go to the bar. And if I met a lady I liked, I'd say, "Hey, just so you know, you're safe with me." But after 3 years, who do you think I wanted to show that badge to? Wow. Oh, I wanted to go back to that office. I wanted to show her the badge. I wanted to say, "Hey, look, you may have knocked me down. Oh, but I got back up. And I better not ever catch you speeding." So the next day, what do you think I did? Oh, I went back to that office. I told you I wasn't the most mature person. I went back to that office, found my old manager, Rob, and I said, "Rob, hey, is Barb around?" Rob just looked at me and he said, "Barb, she doesn't work here anymore." She got a promotion. The opposite, right? And then he said it to me. He said 3 words to me that I'll never forget. He said, Kwesi, she moved on. Have you ever let something from your yesterday, someone or something from your past, your yesterday, affect your today? In that moment, Nelson Mandela's quote came rushing back to me. And I realized the first thing I needed to learn how to release, number 1, is release my past. I need to learn that in the life, you can't move forward when you're looking back. So people ask me, Kwesi, you got fired from the RCMP. You're no longer a police officer. How were you able to do it? How were you able to release your past? And you know what I say to them? I said, you know what? I used to know this woman named Barb. I just want you to reflect on your life. Is there something that you're holding on to? If today's theme is release, the first thing we got to do is release our past. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, right? Second thing I learned how to release, or to learn that I needed to release, I actually learned when I was in prison. And it's funny, isn't it true that the hardest situations often teach us the best lessons? In the book of James, chapter 1, verse 2, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy, because you know when your faith is tested, your endurance has an opportunity to grow. There are things that will happen to you in life that will test your faith. And it happened to me October 31st, 2017, the day I had to walk through those prison doors. Halloween, yes, of all days. I remember I walked through those doors and the warden comes up to me and he says, Kwesi, I know your story. I know you probably shouldn't be here. But here's the thing. We are not going to place you in general population because you're a cop. Does that make sense why he would say that to me? He said, we don't mix cops with criminals, right? We want to keep you safe. So for your protection, we're going to have to place you in solitary. So that was my reality. 7 by 11 foot cell, 23 and a half hours a day. Imagine a metal bed, metal toilet, metal desk. That was my reality. And people say to me now, Kwesi, how was COVID isolation for you? I'm like, listen, spend 23 and a half hours a day in the cell. And the isolation of COVID isn't quite as hard. But what I realize is that isn't it true that it's not really our physical situation that causes us emotional pain? It's sometimes the fact that we can't see our loved ones. We can't see the people around us. And that was what it was for me. Not seeing my wife for over a month, which is a long time for me. And I remember sitting in that cell. I had a lot of time to think. You ever been thinking about your life? Why is this happening? How did I get here? What is life all about? Has anyone ever questioned the meaning of life? I sat in that cell and I thought, okay, well, God, what's next? What am I supposed to do here with this? And the answer came not only from that verse from the book of James, but the guard who knocked on my cell door one day and said to me, Kwesi, would you like access to the prison library? I said, I got time, so yeah, why not? So he takes me to the library and I see a book. I recognize the author. And I say, you know what, let me start with this one. I take it back to my cell. And it's as if that author wrote that book for me. You ever read something and you're like, man, that author, he's writing it for me. every single one of those 309 pages. I still have the book to this day. I felt it was meant for me. The author was talking about something called presence. The author said that there are only two things in your life that will ever cause you stress. And I thought, okay, this is going to be good. Only two things? Tell me. He said, the only two things that will ever cause you stress are thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future. He said, the present moment is the field on which the game of life is played. Respond only to what the present moment requires. What's the name of the book, you ask? It's called A New Earth. The author, his name is Eckhart Tolle. And I remember as I read the book, one quote stuck out to me more than all the others. He said this, acknowledging the good you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Tolle, what good do I have in my life right now? What's good about me losing my job, about being here, about not knowing what I want to do with the rest of my life? There's nothing good about this situation. You know what I think? I think that when you challenge certain things and you convince yourself of a certain reality, God's going to send you a message that proves you wrong. And I remember there was something that happened to me in that cell that proved that what Eckhart was saying is right. You see, when I walked into that solitary cell, they give you this kit of toiletries that you can use: toothbrush, toothpaste, razor, toilet paper, soap, and a towel. Everything you need, right? But something was missing that I desperately needed. A toiletry that I use every day that they didn't give to me. In fact, they don't give to any prisoners inside. Now, I want you to try to guess what it is, but I'm going to give you a hint. What I needed, people of my complexion need more than most. Bueller? Moisturization. Thank you very much. Lotion. There's something in our skin called ceramides. We all have it. Black people have lower amounts of ceramides in their skin. So I needed moisturization. And after just 2 weeks with no moisturization at all in that cell, my skin was cracking. Ever heard of the term ashy skin? My lips were cracking. My lips were bleeding. But eventually my wife, my beautiful wife, got enough money into my prison account. And I was able to buy this. Chapstick, if you can't see in the back or online. And so I took this chapstick to my cell, or I was in the cell, and they gave it to me. And I started putting it on my lips. And I started to cry because it felt so good. Then I look at this chapstick and I start to laugh. And if you'd passed by my cell, you'd have seen this guy crying, laughing, putting moisturization all over his face, and you'd said, okay, Kwesi gone crazy. Let's get the psychologist in here. We need someone to help him. But can I tell you why I was laughing? I was laughing because this little thing gave me so much joy in that cell. And in that moment, I realized Tolle was right. Acknowledging the good you already have in your life is the foundation for happiness. And so if you're going through pain, if you're going through something that hurts you, the second thing I learned is we release our pain through expressing gratitude. I was still in jail. I was still in prison. But I thought, you know what? If this little thing is something that I can celebrate, if I can acknowledge this good, what else is good in this cell? So I took out a pen and I took out a paper and I started writing down, what else can I be grateful for right now? I had a safe place to stay, clothes and a warm, uncomfortable bed, and free food. Not good food, but free. Does anyone know anyone in our society that doesn't have some of those things? And so ever since that day, anytime I felt down, I ended up spending 10 months in the Canadian correctional system, and every single day I wrote down, what am I grateful for? What can I celebrate? And the pain of losing my job, the pain of being in that situation, every time I did it subsided just a little bit. And I learned this: when you celebrate what you have every day becomes a celebration. Think of something that you're grateful for. You looked at him, right? Awesome. I'll leave you with this. So I want you to release your past, something in your past that you may need to release. Celebrate what you have every day to release some of that pain. One more thing I want you to release or think about releasing comes from June 23rd, 2019. I remember that date because that's the day my son was born. June 23rd, 2019. And what's interesting about the fact that I even have a son is that I married my wife in 2015, and we had a discussion. We sat down and we said, you know what? You and I, we good with just the two of us. We actually made a decision. I don't know if we're going to have kids. I don't think we need to. But have you ever heard of the saying, make plans? God laughs. Well, I'm glad he laughed because I've been blessed with a beautiful boy. He's 4 years old now. He started kindergarten. He's super, super cute and super, super tiring. For the first 3.5 years, he did not sleep. And it would be the same thing every single night. Maybe 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd be in my deep sleep snoring away, and I would hear it. Daddy? Play rock, paper, scissors with my wife, which I would lose every time. Zombie my way to his room. There, Phoenix. Go to sleep. And you hear that heavy breathing and you get to make your escape, right? I'd hear that breathing and I'd start creeping back to bed. But I live in a 75-year-old house. And what happens on the floor of 75-year-old houses? Freak. Daddy? So I'll tell you, some nights it was me, sometimes it was my wife. We set up a bed on the floor of his room, and I've spent more nights sleeping on the floor than in my own bed. Some mornings it got so frustrating that my wife would actually look at me and say, should we just sell him on Facebook Marketplace? Now she's kidding, I think. But my son reminds me every day that the last thing we need to release is our plan. I planned to be a police officer for 25 years. I even planned maybe I could become the first Black commissioner of the RCMP. I planned to not have any kids in my life. And what I realize now is I love what I do. I love being able to come and speak to people like yourself and speak to students all over North America. I love being a dad. And when we can walk through life and say, you know what? I'm not holding rigidly to this plan. Yes, I make goals for my life, but I'm just going to walk the path that I'm led on. The weight of expectation, the weight of disappointment, the weight of pain lifts off your shoulders. One of my favorite verses, I'll leave you with this, is Ecclesiastes. It's from Ecclesiastes, and it said, for every time there is a season under heaven, right? For everything there is a purpose, for every time there is a season under heaven. I truly believe that. As we close, I know it's customary to have a meditation. And if it's okay with you, what I'd like you to do is just sit up tall in your chair. And just be mindful of the air that goes inside of you. What I've learned about meditation, what I've learned about silence is that when we're stressed, we breathe from our chest. With Christmas coming up, let's all have Santa Claus bellies here. So when you breathe in through your nose, put your hand on your stomach and feel your stomach expand. In and out. Into the nose, feel the belly. Out through the mouth. In and out. I'm going to invite you to spend just 3 minutes. Contemplate maybe something I've said today or something in your life that you need to release. And we're just going to have 3 minutes of reflection, silence, close your eyes if you want. And I'll let you know when we'll come back. As you gently come back, I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm going to hand it back to Pauline.
Such a pleasure to thank Kwesi on your behalf and those who may watch in the future. Kwesi brought us a real life revelation of how he used release, how he used gratitude in his life, and such a poignant lesson for us because it comes from his heart. Kwesi, we're so grateful that you came, so grateful that you shared with us. And we will, I'm sure, remember your message for many, many weeks and months, maybe years. Thinking of Kwesi in prison, in a small little cell, holding up his tiny little chapstick and feeling so grateful. What a lesson for us about gratitude and release. Thank you, Kwesi.
Standing at the edge of the life I know, afraid to step forward, can't see what's below. I've come so far to the top of this hill, don't wanna go backward, I refuse to stand still. Faith is knowing I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing and I don't know why. Wanna keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. Thought life was a lesson, like being in school, where I would be safe if I played by the rules. In the blink of an eye, the whole world can change. Till nothing's familiar, no sure thing remains. Faith is knowing I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing and I don't know why. Wanna keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. I'm through playing small, I want so much more. No fear at all, I'm ready to soar. Faith is knowing I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing and I don't know why. Wanna keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. Faith is knowing I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing and I don't know why. Wanna keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. Taking the leap, gonna learn how to fly. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly.
And that's what we're all doing, learning how to fly. Here at Unity, we share our time, talent, and energy, and our treasures too. And this is your chance to give back. You can give online. There are many ways of giving, and we hear about those every week. It's important, I think, for all of us to know that everyone has a chance to give in some way, whether it's financial, whether it's your time, your energy, your talent. And we are always, always so grateful when people volunteer here at Unity of London. Whether it's greeting people at the door, helping out in the fellowship room, coming up here as George did today as a platform assistant. All of your volunteering is a way for you to give back, but it's also a way for you to receive. And you receive way, way more when you give, way more. Please join me in our prosperity blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thanks, Lorraine. And this affirmation is so important. I hope you say it often because it can carry you through all kinds of challenges. Join with me. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And here in London, we say, yay, God. And please join in our peace song. And we have a tradition here at Unity of London where it's natural to want to chat right after the service, but it's your chance to come up here and share. We have some people online. We have lots of people here in person, and to share how Kwesi's message affected you. And here's Amber. Yay, Amber.
Wow. Okay. Kwesi. Thank you for my bracelet. If there's a dry eye in the house after that presentation, I'd be surprised. Kwesi, you have got the wow factor. Like, holy moly, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. And thank you, Pauline. Wherever you, Pauline, for introducing Kwesi to all of us.